1955, BMW and Porsche's U.S. importer Max Hoffman has a problem. Porsche's 356 Cabriolet costs as much as a new Cadillac, some $4,500. And Hoffman is worried that the car may just price itself out of the market. So he goes to Porsche and he says, I need you to decontent this car to bring it down to a price where we can sell it. Porsche engineers went to work, taking everything that was not essential out of the convertible and making some changes along the way, because as they found, as they lowered cost, they also lowered weight. And that's how the Speedster was born. It's a regular 356 body. Yeah, it might be pulled a little bit and be a little wider. In fact, the people who had to race against these cars disparagingly called them bathtubs, usually because they were looking at them out ahead. So the spotting cue for the Speedster is the low Speedster windshield. This was developed because one of the cost-saving measures was to lose the roll up and down windows. There are none here. In their place, inexpensive plastic bolt-on side curtains. The top is kind of a minimalist affair, just not a lot of creature comforts here. In fact, one thing that's also missing is a gas gauge. Instead of a gauge, believe it or not, Porsche gave you a basswood stick with gradations for how much fuel was in the tank. You actually had to lift the bonnet, take off the cap, and stick the tank to know how much fuel was in it at any given time. But the Speedster did the trick. Removing all of those things and all of that weight ended up with a car that Hoffman could retail for $3,000. And boy, Porsche was off and running in the United States. Now, as said, a lot of these ended up on the racetrack in SCCA competition, where they did very, very, very well, because this is a flyweight car. Now, originally it had 55 horsepower. This one has had a lot of upgrades. The original 1500cc engine is now 1600 with larger dual carburetors, different cam, and this car now puts out an estimated 80 horsepower. The big bulge here, kind of the beginning of what would later be the Speedster humps, the beehive tail lights, just all part of the Speedster ethos. So you have a car that, believe it or not, was built to a price and yet became the most desirable Porsche of its decade. Porsche knew they were on to a good thing with the Speedster, and history, well, repeats itself. These days, Porsche is all about special edition cars, going fast, and thinly disguised race cars for the street. They have revived the Speedster name a couple of times, most recently here in 2019. The engine is normally aspirated. It comes from the Porsche GT3. So does the hood and the front fascia, all GT3. It has the Speedster humps behind the seats, a very unique styling cue, unique to this and the Boxster Spider. And this car is very heavily optioned, lots of carbon fiber. This has the 6-speed manual transmission, and it's a beautiful car. But the most important part on this car lives right here. It is that serial number plate. This is number 69 of 1,948 examples. That number picked because that's the year that Porsche came into existence. And anytime you have a one of Porsche of a limited build designated by serial number, the values are going catastrophic. So Speedster humps and laid back windshield aside, yes, that's all part of the Speedster vibe. But this car was not made for the track. It was not made to be built at a price. It was made to make money for Porsche and for subsequent owners. That's why this one is for sale in Scottsdale here at Barrett Jackson.